there's a little dot that says recording, like that one.
Now it's recording.
Oh,
Nah.
wait, what? Oh dear.
Oh, there it is.
Oh dear.
Aha!
I just got
In
read.
video. There we go. Okay, now we have just Dr. Wilkins in the middle, and then everybody else is up top.
That's the way it should be. I should be the center of everyone's attention.
No.
Yes.
So there are 3
no, you're
pages
not.
of people on this chat.
I got like
Yeah,
7
not-
pages.
not happening.
Okay, I just pinned them on to my thing.
There.
Yeah.
Oh.
These are strange times we're living in.
Why you still look like you still in high school? You just look young every time. What's going on?
Oh, that's Aaron.
Hey, what's up?
Nice. Chris is
I think
here.
I had to download this app. I thought I could work it on my computer, but I got it on my phone.
There's Emily.
Oh, Aaron, we're just glad to have you, man. However you can make it.
Where's Sam?
What's
Hey,
up?
Stacy,
Sam went to
welcome,
go get
welcome.
It's amazing that
Oh,
you're spitting
it's Aaron.
stuff.
You guys want to see dinner? She made stir fry.
Look,
Oh, dude, that
It's
is
so good.
Alice.
He's here. He's in the page. He's here.
Nice.
Dan Forrest.
Oh,
He's on.
Who's all here?
I was real confused, and then I remember what you had said.
What did I say?
Said something about why can't they
We should probably
Be
mute
on the same
ourselves as we're
screen.
talking.
Nicholas. Nicholas, you're out of this world.
I know.
Oh my gosh, there's so many people.
That's been obvious for a
Nice
year.
background, dude. Nice background. It's awesome.
Like ugly or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Hey,
Chris.
will you turn your phone
There are
sideways?
55 people in this one.
Yeah,
Holy
sideways
cow.
right now.
I really hope not.
There's 3 pages. Holy cow.
That's fine.
This is for me, but you can get one of them.
There's so many people. Holy
There's a lot of
cow.
people.
Dan
Yeah.
Forrest is in the call?
Have you guys noticed the celebrity on the call?
What's that?
Dan
Wait,
Forrest, the writer of Luke's, is in the call.
Oh my god!
That's the surprise.
That's cool!
Hello.
Hi!
Noticed that
Oh my
before.
gosh!
No, we were like scrolling through all the people, looking at all the backgrounds. I was like, wait a second.
Oh, there he is. Again.
Oh.
Cool. So, that was good news. Don't you think that's good news?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good news.
Should we sing good news? Good news.
Ain't it
No,
that
we
good
want-
news?
No.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Who's here?
Good news, but that's not good news.
Rude?
Oh, Aaron, what are you doing?
Is that Tyler?
She's a little slow.
Oh,
Oh, he's gonna get hit.
Where's my water?
Oh dear.
Oh, I burnt supper a little bit, my bad.
No, that's cool.
Okay, well, it's you wouldn't think that after sitting in rehearsals with me that I actually really missed everyone sitting around talking and hearing all the conversation, but I did. And
It's the little things.
I strongly encourage. So first off, everyone got the email I sent out about an hour ago. Yes.
Yes.
See. No. So, New York is officially off.
Sadly.
Sadly, very sadly.
And that was not refundable.
And that, well, it's mostly refundable, but we'll answer those. Just read the email. Read the email carefully. I spent about 30 minutes writing it. You can spend 3 seconds reading it.
Yeah, where?
All day. Am I on your email list? Because I'm not finding it.
Done with my work.
So here's what I'm going to request.
Nah, that's okay.
I'm going to see. I'm going to ask everyone to turn their computers. Will everyone please mute?
Okay, give me a sec.
All right, thank you. because it's much, well, I thought almost thank you. I think there's a way that I can mute everyone else, but I'd rather just mute yourself. With the exception of Mr. Forrest. Someone is still on. That person. As much as Mr. Forrest would love to listen to all of our ramblings, I don't think we're gonna ask him to do that right now. So I got in contact with, can I just call you Dan?
Dan is great.
Okay. Yep. I reached out to Dan back in, let's see, probably starting back in May of last year to see if we could do this. I was hoping that we'd, right before one of our performances, we could do this. And then as everything else changed, we just, he had a busy schedule and weren't sure on a date. And then I thought, well, maybe we could reach out and have a connection. I am a fan of Dan's. I am signed up to his newsletter, and we are having some, everyone's been affected by this COVID-19 thing. And we, there's a lot of disappointment right now. And I still remember the tone of disappointment from his email probably 2 weeks ago that says, wow, my entire world just blew up. I had a bunch of things happening and now those aren't happening either. Dan, we'd love to hear from you. And if you need promptings or something, maybe I'll ask some questions, or if someone has a question, you can write it in the chat. But Dan, we've just had an amazing experience working on this music. It's made us better musicians, and I think some of the things have caused us to be better people. I love The Sun Never Says. I think about that a lot in my marriage. I think how am I living my life as a husband? And anyway, so just your thoughts, your feelings, some of the stuff I emailed you about, I'm going to shout and just let you talk. Go.
Yeah, sure. That's my wife's name at the top of The Sun Never Says, where it says for Addie. That's my wife. So yeah, same thing. I saw that poem and was, that there's one person I need to be able to say that to. Yeah. So glad to see you all. This is Oklahoma, right?
Yep.
Okay. I have a lot of Zooms and I wanted to make sure I had the right one on my head. Yeah, so 61 people on here. How much of your choir is this? Is this everybody? Most?
This is going to be most, I think.
Yeah, cool. And you had Luke, you were going to do Luke's when? Like later this month?
The 20th.
Yeah.
The 20th.
Okay.
That was going to be our Carnegie Hall debut. That was going to be my first time conducting there.
Man, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, these are what I do the most Zooms of these days, is people who didn't get to have a big performance. I'm like comforter in chief or something. Yeah, I mean, for one, music is worthwhile, whether it happens in Carnegie Hall or whether it happens in your rehearsal room or in your performance hall, or even just in your earbuds or in your own personal practice or wherever it may be. Music is worthwhile. It's easy for us to, especially with something like Carnegie Hall looming, to feel like that's like the end and everything else is just a means. But these unusual circumstances, I think, are helpful in the sense that they make us re-examine what really is the end. And the end is music making and your own development as a musician. You're getting to know music and emerging different for it as a music maker, as a chorister, and as a person. So I'd like to think, and maybe you can find some ways that this would resonate with you, that preparation was worthwhile. Even though obviously, you know, there's no way to spin that positively, like, oh yeah, who needs to go to New York and not sing? And obviously that's a huge disappointment. I'm sorry for that. But thank you for the work that you put in. And I hope that there are ways that you can see your musicianship improving as a result of the work that you put in there. Probably my favorite thing to do, rather than just talk about what I think you might want to hear, is just answer questions. What's worked well sometimes is, Dee, if you want to moderate a little bit, if you all like want to wave at the camera, and then Dee, you can just choose who you want to unmute, and they can ask what they want to hear, and I'll be glad to talk about it. Or Dee, if you have things you want to ask me right up front, that's fine too. I'm happy to answer questions everybody wants to hear.
Man, that's tough. How about we do this? If you have an idea, why don't you put it in the chat? And if you want, you can chat to me specifically. If you don't want your question out there for everyone in case I don't pick it. I should have brought I had my score. I had the big score. So.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So, Dan, how long is the opening? Like, isn't it like 11 or 12 minutes?
It's over 10. Yeah.
10. I'm just trying to think. I was expecting everyone else to be talking. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's chat stuff.
Good. Here's questions. Yay. What inspired you to write Luke's?
Let me do that next question easier. How long did it take? That's the better part of a year. But that includes the 3 versions, the like small, medium, and large. If I were just writing one version, it would probably be more like 9 or 10 months, but then add on a couple months for the rest of it. But for me, most of that process is spent throwing out ideas that aren't great. People get the idea because all you see is what I chose to like make public. So everybody always thinks that I just have this magic pen over here. So this is my office that I'm sitting in. People just presume that I have this golden pen from which flows the divinely inspired ideas. And actually most of what I write is crap and I have to get rid of that. And then I come up with a few ideas that are decent, and then I say, no, I don't want to settle for that. And once in a while, there's like a needle in a haystack that I think is really worth hanging on to. Yeah, you don't have to put my crap quote on Facebook, okay? But I hope that encourages you. Maybe some of you compose. I can't see everybody at once here, or I'd ask, but yeah, I mean, I don't write quickly, nor do I have all good ideas. If you like the music that I write, it's because I pared away all the other junk and got rid of it to only keep what was really worthwhile. So out of that like year, at least 3 or 4 months is probably spent just pushing away ideas that I don't really want to commit to until I find something that I think is really worth committing to. If that's helpful to know. What inspired me to write it? I've been working with the Breath of Life so much right now, I have to shift gears and go back to Luke's. I had 2 experiences that really shaped how it came together, and maybe you've read about them in the program notes, from a trip to Europe the summer that I was trying to write this. I went into a cathedral in Reims, R-E-I-M-S, France, and saw some of the most beautiful stained glass I had ever seen. I mean, I'm a sucker for a European cathedral, but that one was just, I got visual goosebumps when I walked in, not from hearing beautiful music or anything, but just from seeing the just soaring light pouring in there. So I just spent some time kind of soaking that up and trying to, well, I don't know what to say. It was partly visual and partly just the vibe isn't the right word. It's just the sacredness of that space and the history. That's where like the last 1,000 years worth of French kings were crowned or something. It was just so monumental and rich and spiritual in a very vague, not in a theological way, but just in a very vague way, but in a tangible way that really mattered to me. And the other thing, on that same trip, we were in Ireland and we went to the Pool na Bron Dolmen, which is this like 6,000-year-old set of stones that are set upright, and there's a stone set on top of them. And they've excavated, it's like an ancient burial ground. But, you know, people have been there for thousands and thousands of years, some of the earliest settlers there. And just the sense and weight of what had gone on there, and the fact that people had lost loved ones and memorialized them there. And it was actually a kind of a cloudy day there, but the sun poked through a few times, and all of those things, of course, are arranged, you know, celestially, so that the sun cuts through, and on the equinox or whatever, it shines through. You know, just this really beautiful and meaningful arrangement. And I could just picture this sliver of light coming up over the top of that. So the opening that you know at the beginning of Luke's is supposed to be a sunrise, but I picture just this sliver of light coming over those ancient stones there. Knowing that may influence how you sing it next time you get to do that as well. The other big inspiration, quickly, is the texts that I chose. The work can be performed anytime, but there's a strong sense of Advent and Christmas about it. It wasn't premiered at a Christmas or Advent kind of concert, but the idea of like the very first Christmas morning, and what would the sunrise have been like on that morning. And at the very opening, there's kind of this dual sunrise, as the, like, at least in my theology, as the S-U-N is rising, the S-O-N is descending. And that's reflected in those mirrored lines. Da, 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 da. This is my air piano here, because my real piano's down here. But yeah, there's these slow lines, and there's this sunrise, and there's this sun descent that happens at the same time. And those texts move from like super ancient to more recent to right now in the third movement, to then kind of going back in history again, and then to the most ancient of all again. So there's almost like this sunrise, daytime, and then sunset kind of line that's drawn through those movements, just in like this cosmic sense of time that it moves through. So those are kind of guiding thoughts for me. How that translates into actual notes and rhythms, I don't know. And I don't try to figure that out. That's the job of some biographer or something somewhere. But those are thoughts involved there.
Very cool. Well, I'm gonna, speaking on the way some of the music comes together, I read the text first, and then I listened to it like 2,000 times. And probably the first 3 to 5 times I listened to it, I totally missed the third movement because it's polyphonic and the text doesn't. You know, it's more like not Renaissance rhythms, but you know, where it's overlapping and I was just downright frustrated that I couldn't pick out the text. And I thought, there's a reason he did this. And that, by the way, that was my determination, is that it was going to be like when we performed this, I was planning on spending more time on movement 3 than any other. Why the polyphonic approach to number 3?
I wanted it to be close and intimate and a cappella. And the movement that comes before is a lot of just homophony, just punchy chords. So partly I needed variety, and partly I wanted you to be able to walk into that cathedral in France and sing that beautiful polyphonic kind of music where the lines just overlap and float around the cathedral, that kind of feel. So it's not really a textual reason, but just more a big picture musical reason.
Very nice. Because my alto 1s will attest to the fact, sorry, the alto 2s, no, alto 1s will attest to the fact that I wanted that text coming out in the third measure. We discussed that once or twice in rehearsal, if I recall.
Good man, good man.
Okay. I liked this question. While the meaning of your work can be interpreted in multiple ways, Is there a particular way you would hope that your music not be construed?
Yeah, that is interesting. That doesn't happen too often. I think partly because I'm more overt about what I believe and what I think and what my musical values are and what my worldview is, that kind of thing. So perhaps my music doesn't leave as much room for people to interpret it too far. But within the bounds of what I'm trying to say, John Cage famously said, "I have nothing to say, and I'm saying it." I have a very opposite approach. Like, I have something to say, and in an artistic way, I'm trying to say it.
Yeah.
But it always amazes me just the levels and shades of meaning that people find both musically and textually in my work. And I feel like I get to know my pieces better as a result of the way that other people digest them and reflect them and process and then come back to me. I don't feel like I know everything there is to know about my music. It connects with different people and resonates in different ways, and then I gain a better understanding of that music as a result of all those different angles that come back. Most of the time, I just really appreciate that, really enjoy it. I'm trying to think of an example if there's been a time when somebody just like grossly misinterpreted what I can't really think of one. It's not common.
Well, this is a good segue. I like this question. Have you gotten to perform your piece as a singer? Have you sang under someone else's baton and in your work?
No, I'm not really much of a vocalist. I'm a pianist by trade and by degree, and I don't have a great voice. I can sing on pitch, certainly, but I don't have any kind of beautiful resonance or vocal control or anything. So I can critique other singers all day long, but I'm not really much of a singer.
Well, very cool. So here's a shorter one. How old were you when you decided to compose? When you decided to become a composer? Your age?
I'm not the kind of person that decided I wanted to compose. I'm just kind of hung up on that wording there. It's less that I chose it and more that it chose me, really. I started playing the piano in 4th grade, very early. Well, not as early as some, I guess. I was always improvising and just trying things, making stuff up at the piano, so there was always a creative spark even there. It was later in high school that I started doing more composing and like hymn arranging kind of things more formally, but still piano was the main thing. In college, I did 2 degrees in piano, and it was only during my master's degree in piano that I really started getting tired of just pianizing all the time, and wanted to find a different kind of outlet compositionally. But even there, I spent a long time trying to decide whether I was going to really pursue piano or do more like theory comp kind of stuff. And then even when I went full in on theory comp, for a long time, I couldn't decide whether I was a theorist who composed or a composer who taught theory. And it wasn't until 2012 that I stopped trying to do both full time and just went all in on composing specifically. So somewhere between 4th grade and 2012,
Very nice.
it was a gradual process of taking musicianship, the big picture, and just finding where my biggest gifting met the world's biggest need.
Very good. Wow,
Yeah.
I like that concept. My biggest gift for the world's biggest need. This is,
Or at least I like to think so.
right. No,
I think that's my calling. Yeah.
There's a few other questions here.
Sure.
And I think this question that I have may tie into some of those. The guy I did my dissertation on, David Conti, out in California.
Oh, yeah, cool.
He said, you compose, and once you send it out there, your works take on a life of their own. And it's like children who leave the house. They're just beyond your control anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd love to hear about your process of watching this work. Some of the people here were around when we did Requiem for the Living 3 years ago, or just in general, or specifically with Luke's, because some people said what advice did you give to composers? Is there a favorite movement or section you enjoy hearing the most? Something along that. And what's it like to watch the life of your piece unfold?
I think the most important thing, this is the starting point for answering your question. I think the most important thing for a piece of music is that it sets up its own like sound world. It makes its own demands clear, like stylistically or musically or textually. It sets up expectations that can be either met or surpassed. And then in every possible way, whether it's just what note comes next in this melody, or how many phrases I have in a row of this before I go to a B theme, or the length of the movements in proportion to each other. So on the tiniest micro level or on the biggest macro level, it needs to meet those expectations in a satisfying way. Music educators, you may recognize that as a little bit of Leonard Meyer implication realization, but I take it on a much more pragmatic approach for composers. So a lot of times it's not what note can I force onto this piece next? If I've written up to this point, okay, now what note comes here? It's less about what I want to push in there and what the music is just begging for. And I think the best pieces, at least of mine, and I think it's true for other composers too, are the ones where we just listened enough to what we were trying to write to where we found the voice that music was trying to have. I realize I'm sort of like animating music or personifying it, or there really is a way that music takes on a life of its own. And it sets up its own demands and its own expectations. And my job is to either find those and fulfill them for you as performers or for your audience, or to find things that outdo those expectations. Like, oh, you thought this was going here, but ooh, check this out, so that the music is just true to itself. That's a cliche, but it has to be true to itself. And that's what makes it hold together and makes it satisfying to perform and to hear. So all that to say, if I'm writing a piece of music well, it takes on a life of its own. And then once I put it out there, it doesn't feel like, oh, that's my baby, that's my thing, I got to protect it, I've got to, like, if I did my job correctly, it just goes out there. And my favorite moments are when I hear a piece of mine being performed, sometimes like from a distance, like I'm a couple doors down from the rehearsal hall or something, and I hear this music and I think, oh, that's really great, that's doing exactly what it should. Oh, I wrote that. I really have those moments. And that little moment of like, I don't recognize what it is, but I recognize that music is being true and being honest, musically speaking, and it's doing what it should do. And then I realize it's mine. That's so rewarding and affirming. Like, oh, I think I got that right. Yeah, that's it. And it really doesn't feel about me anymore. Like ego is not even in the picture at that point. It's not like, oh, look what my hand hath wrought.
Right.
It's not like that at all. It's no, this piece was ordained to be. Sorry for sounding so Presbyterian here, but this piece was ordained, and there it is, and it's doing exactly what it should do. I didn't have to be the one to bring it in the world. It's my privilege that I got to. But this piece could exist through any number of other composers. I'm just glad I got to have the chance to put it out there. That's thing for me.
That actually sounds a lot like being a father. I mean, my wife and I have 9, and there's moments I'm like, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. This is so cool.
Yeah.
But, it's happened more than once, actually.
Good for you. Yeah. So I think pieces do take on a life of their own. There's also the sense that once I put it in print and put it out there, I can't really take it back. It can't be changing things once it's out there. Once you've got those little black folders in your hand, or you have that monster score in your hand, I can't come up with more ideas or tack things on or tweak. It is what it is. I'm going to have to live with it. So I really try to not let it out the door until I'm positive that every single note is. Morton Lauridsen said to me once, I had a composition lesson with him at the University of Kansas, and he said, you ought to be able to close your eyes and just put your finger down on your score anywhere. Open your eyes, and whatever note you're pointing to, you need to be able to tell me why that note is there. And if you can't tell me why that note is there, you need to spend some time thinking about it and decide whether it really belongs or not.
Wow.
And if I did that for all of the bazillion notes in your giant Luke score, that would take forever. But I try to think that way as I write. Like, wait a minute, does this really have to be? Is this really, or am I just padding? Is this just filler? Is this unnecessary? Is it extra in some way? I try to challenge myself on all that before it goes out the door, so that then when I hear it 2 doors down, I say, oh, I like that, whatever it is. Or when I'm in Carnegie Hall with you guys, sometime down the road,
Amen.
that I'll be proud of whatever notes are there and not cringing.
Very cool. Well, Dan, we've kept you longer than I requested before.
Oh, no worries.
If there's
He's always been long. That's fine.
Okay. I'm just checking to see if there's any chats that have to be answered, questions, but
there is that one there. What advice I'd give to up and coming composers?
Sure, go for it.
I could speak for 10 hours on different aspects of that. That's so hard to try to answer. What sounds like a cop-out answer, but is really my best advice, is just do all sorts of things that improve your musicianship. Anything that builds your music, you as a music maker, or a music experiencer, or a music producer. Any kind of listening, understanding theory better, gaining historical context, performing, conducting, listening, engaging in some new instrument, talking with people outside the stylistic bounds that you normally work in, listening to things that are outside what you normally do, all of that stuff. It affects who you are as a musician, how you respond to music, and therefore how you're going to make music. And that's whether you're performing or whether you're conducting or whether you are composing. So I think if you approach music that way in life, then you just become a lifelong learner. It's like this lifelong, I don't want to say scavenger hunt, but this lifelong quest of just finding more things and broadening yourself and assimilating more ideas. And all of that stuff builds you as a composer. The other thing is just develop the skill of listening analytically, not just, as Aaron Copland said, taking a bath in the sound wash. Oh, I love this, but like, what is going on there? Why is that note there? What's going to happen next? How did I respond to what happened next? Why is that instrumentation done that way? Why is this piece, does new material show up here in the coda? What would happen if that weren't there? Asking all those kinds of questions as you listen develops those thought processes that I think are essential for composers, because you have to think that about your own work as you're creating it. I'll stop there instead of giving you the 10-hour version.
That's good. You don't know this, but you and I had a big wrestling match in a hotel in the lobby of a hotel one time. As I was trying to figure out movement 2 harmonically, where it was going, key changes and everything. And I finally cracked the code. I was cussing you out for a while, but then the lobby was pretty much empty, and I started shouting out loud. I was like, yes, I cracked it anyway. So that whole set up expectation and where's it go?
Yeah.
I haven't taken on a theory assignment like that in a number of years, and so that was a good challenge for me. But
yeah, nice.
And I came in and tried to explain it to the choir, and that didn't go over so well.
Well, something like The Sun Never Says just parks on a tonal center and just basically stays there the whole time.
Right.
So that's just one of many aspects where the movements have to provide variety. Yeah. So I needed to set up the placid, like just perfectly mirror-like surface of a lake that you get in The Sun Never Says with something that was completely tonally unstable and difficult to analyze.
It was fun though. That was good. Dan, it's been a privilege to perform your work. Our performance was for 2 people, and
nice.
And we were a long ways from finished, but we just we needed to turn in a preliminary recording to Manhattan Concert Productions to make sure that they knew we were working it. And little did we know that was going to be our one and only real performance of it. So I've loved it, and I've heard a lot from the students that they had a lot of good experiences with it. So thank you so much, and God bless you, sir. Thank you for what you do. Keep it up.
Absolutely. Yeah, and check out the Breath of Life. I think I sent you that, or I sent you a link to that.
Yes.
If you want to make a assignment out of that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm excited about these days. So
very cool.
Give that a listen if you haven't gotten there.
You'll be proud to know that I found it on Spotify before you sent out the link even. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's showing up. That's good.
All right.
All right. Best wishes to all of you. Thank you for your spirit and your labors of love. And music will be back in business before long. Hang in there.
Hey.
In the meantime, stay well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. All the best to you.
That's a pretty good consolation prize for not getting to go, right? Did you guys enjoy that? Good. You can unmute now. We're not in front of people anymore. You can be yourself.
Oh yeah, that joint.
This is a bad decision.
All I hear is "you can be yourself," and then I hear one mic go.
It is really too weird to see everyone's faces and have it quiet. Like, I don't know how to respond.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Victor.
Oh. Oh. Okay. I found like.
And technology has surfaced.
Okay. I can't do
She
that.
answered my question.
That was a word from the comforter in chief.
Yes.
Look at Sam and Tyler.
I know.
Huh?
Hi, Sam and Tyler.
Oh,
Hi,
oh my
Brittany
God,
and Steven.
it's like we're couples.
Like we're friends or something. How funny of you to think that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dog again.
Miss you.
I miss you too.
I miss all of y'all.
So,
Not as much as I miss Brittany.
Wow. Okay.
so here's what I'm going to do. Here's the game plan.
Oh.
I'm going to change the screen to share, which you may or may not be able to see my face.
I'm like sitting right next to you, so I can see your face.
What I'd like everyone to do is give me a thumbs up if you know how to chat privately just to some other person on the call. Give me a thumbs up.
Not at all.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
I figured it out.
Like a butterfly.
I'm only had
Oh, I figured it out. Never mind.
minutes.
Whoa, what happened? Oh.
Whoa, what the heck is
Count all the pixels.
What?
That's what
Okay.
I was trying to show my
what
own.
the heck?
I was trying to show my own.
What did he just do?
At the bottom of your screen, there's a chat.
Yeah.
And you can choose who you're going to chat to privately.
Oh yeah, I see it.
I'm looking for my bro.
We should have just put Quentin up top so everyone could find him easy. But
Some
anyway,
people still have their mic muted.
what I want you to do, I'd like you to chat back and forth. I want you to be able to make comments and stuff, but I don't want to do it orally because when it's time, Jax, you got to work on your background, bro.
What is it? Hold on. I want to see what it is.
What is it? I don't.
That's wonderful.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh,
Oh
child.
man, now we're calling.
Can't see
What
it.
the heck?
There it is.
Now we're talking.
Jack,
Man.
what the heck? What's your background right now?
What is that, anime?
How long has it been
Which
that
one is
way?
it, man? I'll put it in my watch
Do
list.
that. I want to do that.
Hey, wait. The real question is, How many of you saw the cat that I was holding? And do you think Dan Forrest thought my cat was cute?
Cat's that.
When I was holding the cat.
Improper to call your girlfriend slash fiance slash
Favorite
future
thing to ever exist
wife
in
now,
my
but I will.
I know where you live. I will literally kill you.
Oh my god.
Oh my.
Okay, here we go. So when we start the music, I think I'd like you to mute. I don't know if it'll auto mute you. I don't think that it will. But what
I don't think it will.
it should turn over to direct audio from my computer. I want you to chat with each other. I want you to talk. After it's all done, I'm going to leave the meeting running as long as there's people on it. I'll probably turn off my video. I may end up walking out the door or whatever. But as long as you want to talk and visit and chat and stuff back and forth, this is the closest thing to social gatherings we have for some time.
Yeah.
By the way, I've got my bets in that the word of the year by Merriam-Webster will be social distancing. Like
Yeah.
5 years ago, the word of the year was selfie. Yeah, it's going to be social.
I have a funny quick story.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been putting my music for my students in my mailbox. One of my students came up to my door and knocked on the door, and I awkwardly was like, "Hey, how are you?" And then kind of did this awkward gesture, and I was like, "Oh, I'm practicing social distancing." So, and then they just kind of scoot back, and they're like, "Oh, it's good, Miss Forrest." But it was I walked back in the house, and my husband just kept teasing me, going, "I'm practicing social distancing."
Practicing.
And I was so embarrassed.
Practicing.
That's embarrassing. Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Okay. The other thing is I'll share the audio files with everybody. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. And we may not want to, I wouldn't expect everyone to want to just sit and listen to this time and time again, because there's going to be some wincing, kind of like, ouch, that was bad. But I'm also expecting there's going to be some beautiful moments, and so.
What in the world?
Aaron, what are you doing?
At some point in time, this is all going to pass. And at some point in time, I'm going to come back out to Oklahoma. We've got stuff out there. I still have to move out of my office and such. But when we do that, I will, I'll send.
Be quiet.
It'll be fun to get together, and everyone who has, we're still getting the polos. If you go to New York, I still got polos for you. I think we should get together and eat something, or just, hang out, or have a come and go, just kind of gathering with each other. I don't know how it'll work, and maybe it won't, but just want to know those things. In the meantime, this is going to be, for all intents and purposes, the last official activity for the Panhandle Youth Chorale, and concert choir as we know it for this year. So this is where we go. Thanks, everyone. In 35 and 40 minutes. Please turn your computers on and mute.
Didn't even get a chance to mute myself. Okay.
commercial A.
Thank you. Gloria
Phew.
Wow.
Wow, I like.
Wow.
I just hear someone
Okay, Darius.
scream.
Pretty powerful stuff. You guys are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was looking forward to this, but you know, it is what it is.
It breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks
Same.
my heart to see all of us talented people just listening to ourselves for the first time. It breaks my heart.
Not gonna lie though, I was crying through most of that.
Same, man.
Same.
Aim.
Same.
Aim.
Oh man.
That was brutal.
I can't even feel my feet.
Yeah, knocked your socks off, huh?
I can feel your feet. I can't feel my face.
My heart.
Yeah.
Great job.
Dr.
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Tan.
Tan.
Yeah, you are
Thank you,
the
Dr.
bomb.
Tan.
Dr. Tan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dr.
Dr.
Tan.
Tan.
Dr. Tan.
You are the best.
Welcome. Have a good semester.
You too.
Thank you.
I'm going to check out now. I have to do some grading.
Oh.
Dr. Tan.
Hi.
Yeah, Dr. Tan.
Bye.
Deuces.
We love you, Dr. Tan.
There she goes.
Oh, God.
So is this where we take control of the server and make it our own and claim it and urinate on the nearby you know
What in the world?
what? No, I thought we were supposed to claim our territory. So
No.
You know, Sam and Tyler. Can y'all help me?
Yes.
Sam, please help me.
Oh.
It's Jackson's background that's gifted.
I forgot.
my background is great, thank you very much, and I pride myself in watching people get hurt for my own comfort.
I want to change
That's
my
one of his
background.
many talents.
That's right.
Why?
You too, Jesse.
Remix coming out.
So be honest. Was anybody actually prepared for that?
Hey.
No, I
Yeah,
was
I
not.
Wash her
I thought I was
I
ready.
was
My
not.
part wasn't.
Okay, hold on. Silly girl.
Close what? Huh?
Okay.
Are you in class?
Yeah, we listened to like our choir recording thing.
She doesn't like washers.
Okay.
Oops.
So full disclosure, was anybody actually prepared for that emotionally?
My
No.
heart wasn't.
No.
No, I was not.
good till
No.
Luca 3 hit.
No.
I thought I was. I thought I was.
In the chat, boys.
It's an emotional roller coaster just singing it. To listen to it with this sad undertone was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Nicholas, you okay?
I'm good. I'm okay.
Is you not without
Three got me.
glasses?
2 and 3
Like,
got
oh,
me
man.
all the way. That was rough.
Yeah.
After that, I was proud.
Teresa did a great job on the solo.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it did glitch out.
Yeah, boy. Hey, oh no, guys. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Quentin,
Oh,
are
hey,
you
guys.
outside?
Yeah, I'm outside.
He's one with the trees. He's the Lorax.
Yes.
Are you knitting right now?
Oh God, the Lorax.
No, it's called
Crocheting.
crocheting.
Oh, I'm jobbing you.
Nope, it's a totally different skill
Different.
set.
Brittany, that better be a blanket for me.
No, it's for
It's
me.
not a. It's not a purse. It's a
She loves
satchel.
me more than you.
That's a lie, and you know it.
It's not.
Should I bust out my crochet needles too?
Karate, it's
Mine's
Muay
in my
Thai.
car, and I'm too lazy to go out there.
Real men just use their hands.
Puppy. Like your dog, Max.
Puppy?
Oh, there it is.
Who, me?
What?
Yes.
Who just said who me?
That was
You have a
Max.
dog also?
I thought someone said
Forget all that
Max.
girly crochet
Who said
stuff.
Max?
Scene.
Don't be
said it.
underwater baskets like real men.
I'm looking for the dog.
That's a cute dog.
Where's the dog?
Oh my
Hey,
God.
dog.
There's the dog.
Everyone is looking for the dog.
Wonderful man.
Where's
Reveal
Doge?
yourself.
Jax, I love it.
It's a
Oh, there's the monster trucks.
Hey, hold on. Just give me a second, okay? Hold on. Let me make it 3D for you.
Are you looking up a Gravedigger highlight?
That's right, dude. Don't even worry about it.
That's the only what I know.
Oh my gosh.
Jack's playing 2K. I swear to God, he's playing 2K while this whole thing starts. Everyone.
Dude, I'm playing Plaguing.
You'd probably be like one of those gamer girls, my guy.
Oh no.
Right now?
Yeah, dude, start chewing on all your cords.
Please.
Oh,
Oh shoot! Wait, who's
Yeah,
in my
but-
audience? Oh no, they're. Oh no!
TOS.
Oh no, guys! I'm sorry. I'm backing out. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Apparently, you're
Oh,
not
no.
allowed to impersonate people on Twitch. I'm sorry. I have to close my account. Sorry, guys. I've had a good fan base. You guys are the best. That has to stop here.
Join my fans
No,
only.
Jax.
yeah, that's right.
What is this, iDubbbz girlfriend?
Snapchat.
Hey, I am his girlfriend.
Oh. You know what I'm signing up
Jax's
for.
best girl.
He's top tier waifu material, man.
Oh
my
boy.
God,
Didn't
no.
you notice? But
No
Tyler
yonder
tried to
in
kick me
here,
in the face with
please.
the car during the
Oh.
during that.
Jax, I got a car.
You got a car?
Yeah.
Dude, no way. Dude.
What'd you get?
It's a Camaro.
Look at it.
Look at it.
Oh,
Is it
snap.
Oh, I was so.
It's Bumblebee.
I know Brittany was about to get real mad because she wants one.
Camaro?
Well, we
Yeah,
have
she
one.
wants an
It's
actual
yellow
Camaro.
and its doors open.
Dude, like a fourth of Seaboard all has Camaros. And I'm like, I want one so bad.
No. Yes.
I hold on. Do I have a car? I do. I have a car. I have a car.
Actually, I think I have the monster truck
Is that a
somewhere.
Volkswagen?
Is that
It
from
is
actual
a-
cars?
It is a something. It is a Porsche 356A Outlaw.
Jax, I have my monster
Like a toy car.
Yeah, is it okay we can leave? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
dude.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was just curious. I was like,
Okay, I'm okay if you leave.
oh, okay.
But you won't get to see my entire diecast collection.
You can show it to me another time.
If I has an opportunity to show them off.
Oh no, I don't want to do that. Listen, I'm a loser, but I don't want to show off that I'm that much.
Jax brought me 3 of them.
No, at least you're not me, Jax.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Sam still has her monster
Dude.
trucks.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yes.
Can we leave?
Those cost extra because they're WWE
It's just all the value.
Yeah, they're collector's items.
Yeah, technically.
Still sealed in the box.
That's right.
Still, one can hear the voice.
Jax, you could have been me and collect. Never mind. I won't say.
We do not talk about adult subjects on the line with younger children. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
Okay,
guys,
please
I'm just
refrain.
trying. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I consider my age exactly, and then under 12 to be children. So.
What's your age exactly?
Yeah, 20 years, some number of days.
I'm 21.
You know, there's a Snapchat filter now to like put your exact age.
There's also one where you can make it look like you're a girl.
Yeah, like you put your birthday and it tells it.
I already look like a girl, and,
Or
and
young
second
or
off,
old.
I always get registered as like a 14-year-old. So I feel really
Stir in the coffee,
demasculated
guys.
with those. So,
14-year-old girl?
Stir in the coffee.
yeah, I'm a 14-year-old girl.
It's because you got that Bieber
Dang.
hair.
Oh, guys, you guys want to watch the banned episode of Pokemon that made kids in Japan have seizures?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wait, let me get this.
The electric Porygon?
Hey,
Yes, dude, I have
this
it.
is
I have
my
it in full.
baby cousin.
I gotta get off.
Her name is Jordan.
This is show and tell.
This is show and tell. I brought a goat.
The goat.
No.
Yeah.
Not the goat?
Oh.
No, she is a goat. I fed her hands.
She's the
Gunner,
best
I
at
saw
eating
something
grass.
Star Trek behind you. What is it?
It is a poster. And yes, it is very nerdy. But
Bye,
it's
Brittany and Steven.
USS Enterprise.
I love you, Brittany.
I love you, Sam.
Love you, Steven.
For some time.
Love you too, Tyler.
Hi, guys.
Oh, you could be me
Hello.
I was trying to the Metroid games. I actually have two amiibos coming in, so it's gonna be crazy.
Is it edgy
Quick.
content time?
Is it?
Is it edgy content time?
Wait, Matt.
What?
How quickly did you finish Doom Eternal?
I finished it. I started playing it on Thursday night,
Let's
and I
go.
finished it Monday night. So,
Dang.
how long would that be?
Too little time. They didn't put enough time in the development.
Yeah.
No, it's because I played it like
way longer.
2 hours. I played like probably 4 or 5 hours a day, maybe. I don't know. I want to say 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
It's I have 20 hours in it, so 25 actually, I think.
Bye, guys.
Is this what the
Bye.
world would be like if I did
See ya.
drugs? Would
Later,
this be what it's
guys.
like?
Oh, now we're talking.
Bye-bye. Hold on. Actually, there's some NSFW
Jax,
content.
can I get the sauce, please?
I'm
sauce?
saying bye,
There it
Tyler. Bye.
Whoa. Well, look,
Bye.
my arm's disappearing. Oh no.
Dude,
Oh
Jax,
no.
give me the sauce, please.
Actually,
Bye.
How am I gonna enjoy this without the sauce?
The sauce? Oh, you want the sauce? Oh shoot! I got you. Here's some sauce. Here's
That's
some
a
sauce for you. Don't worry about it. Just watch it.
Oh no. No.
Is that Melania Trump?
Bye. Here you go. Hey, check this out. Here's the sauce. There's the sauce. There's the sauce.
No.
Oh, poor guy.
Okay, it's bedtime. Goodbye, friends.
Hey, I haven't done anything bad yet. That was a natural bodily process.
I thought it said Squidward.
Goodbye.
Oh, it does say Squidward. Does it?
Bye,
It does.
Sam.
It does say.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss you guys.
No, you
Don't catch the coronas or
Aw.
whatever.
No.
Oh man, I've been drinking Corona all week.
Wash your hands.
Oh,
Wash your hands.
Okay, well, I'm logging off too, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you
Well, practice social distancing, wash your hands, all that good stuff.
Don't worry, I'm
Yeah.
already good at that.
And wash your hands
Okay,
too.
good. All right, bye, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Night.
There's Quentin. Quentin, say hi to
Hi.
Quentin.
Yeah, I'm not Quinn.
This is a baby.
It's a little one.
It's a baby. Also, Wilkins' kid.
Mom.
All right, I'm gonna have to finish up a test that's due tomorrow. See you guys later.
Good luck.
See you,
Bye.
Matt.
Thank you. Bye.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you log off of this?
As
Bottom right.
leaves meeting.
Yeah, leave the meeting. Yeah.
Or just shut down
Oh,
your computer or whatever.
Found it. Bye, guys.
No, it
See ya.
takes care.
Bye.
Slowly. There are fewer and fewer.
Only like 13
Those
people
who are
now.
most socially deprived are still on, right?
Called out.
Those of us seeking more entertainment.
Grace,
content.
I was thinking your mom might jump on and listen as well.
She walked in for like 5 minutes and listened, but she didn't want to be on video while Dan Forrest was still on.
I feel that.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, I was hoping she would show her face because then I could type in chat, the bread lady.
Oh,
The bread lady.
I miss it. You miss the bread? He comes into Zoom meetings with a class sometime and just enthralled. He loves it. Bedtime. You shouldn't eat, Drew, when you can't share. What are you eating, bro?
I call it thing.
Thing?
Basically, you put down
Thing
the
1 or
tortilla.
thing 2?
It's a collegiate.
No, not the candy hack. No.
Oh, you're
Put down a
breaking our little
tortilla,
Dr.
a
Seuss
layer of
heart.
cheese, chili, cheese, tortilla.
Okay.
Chili cheese tortilla.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a name for that.
Yeah, thing.
Quesadilla.
No, it's two different tortillas.
2 different kinds, so flour and corn?
No, just two different tortillas. A quesadilla is
Oh.
only with one tortilla.
A quesadilla
It
can
depends
be
on where
too.
it depends on where you get it.
You made me hungry.
Hey Gunnar, do you like my new background? It's
Hold up.
Oh my gosh.
It's someone
Oh.
you might know.
Oh. Yo, that's not copyrighted, right?
No, I have the rights to it. Don't worry. You have no
Oh,
say
yeah,
in the
oh,
matter. I can display it wherever I want because I took the picture.
Oh wait.
I was gonna make that my album cover for my next mixtape.
Oh shoot!
Dang it.
I'll license it out for you, man. I'll do it. Don't worry.
Hey, I mean, as long as Jax took the picture, it is technically his property.
That's right.
As long as it was taken in a public place.
It was. It was.
Oh wait, I
name,
typed
but
it too late.
I
Just
don't own
kidding.
his phone, so.
I was, never mind.
Okay, guys.
The world.
It was fun. I'm about to give my little brother a haircut, so wish me luck.
Oh, good luck with
Dang.
that.
Thanks. See ya.
See ya,
Bye
Glenn.
bye.
So wrap this up. We good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice though.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
good to see you all.
See ya.
Yeah.
Here we go. See ya. Thanks, everyone. That was beautiful.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Wilkins.
All right. Good night.